I'm Robert Vaughn.
And I'm Danielle Metz.
And this is the Danielle Metz Show. Quote, in any election, by the time you vote, most of the decisions regarding who will form the government have already been made, and not by you. That's a quote from me, actually. So, Danielle, what can and have you done in the past prior to voting? Because, by the time you get in there at the election, but let's take a federal election, for example. In this election, you've got Justin Trudeau and the Liberals, and Andrew Scheer and the Conservatives. Now you've got Maxime Bernier and the PPC, and then a bunch of other losers. So the thing is that your choices are basically down to 2, 3, maybe 4 different candidates, parties, leaders, and everybody goes in there, I think, and they're disaffected. They're upset that same old, or, not him again or her again. And they don't realize that the voting is the very last step in the democratic process of choosing the government and the leader and your councillor and your trustee and your premier and your parliamentarians or whoever, your president. It's the last step. It's not the first step, and it's not the only step. So what have you done?
Well, let's see. My father formed a political party when I was 10, and since then I've been delivering literature when I was wee lass, and I've gone on talk shows, I do a podcast, I talk to people about politics unabashedly. That's one thing that's very important, is that a lot of people feel that they can't speak openly about their politics. And I find I have a bunch of clients over my career, and I don't hide what I believe. And I find that most people actually believe what I believe, but they just don't feel like they can say it. They feel the shame, like it's not politically correct to say that you think, gee, I own a company, I should be able to earn a profit and not feel guilty about it. I guess the politics is a subset of the culture, and changing people's views of what is right and wrong just in the day-to-day in their lives, aka being a business owner, being someone who does something productive in society, and not feeling guilty for doing that. I think that's a very strong starting point.
Oh yeah. I can still remember when the first party I ever voted for was the Progressive Conservative Party federally. But after that, it was
that
Libertarian.
During the NAFTA thing?
Oh God, no. This is back probably 1970 something or other.
You've got a lot of voting experience on me.
It was Jim McGraw, I think, was the candidate. It was St. John's East, and he became the Ministry of Fisheries, if I'm not mistaken. But no matter. The point was, at that time, I sort of was leaning to the right, but then I got a pamphlet in the letterbox, and it was from the Libertarian Party in Newfoundland. And I immediately understood exactly what they're doing, because at that same time I had gotten my first paycheck. And all of a sudden I'm going, what is this? I was expecting X, and this is X minus Y.
Yeah, that's funny that everybody
zip.
seems to have that experience. That's even a joke on Friends, where Rachel, working at the coffee house, gets her first paycheck and goes, who the heck is FICA?
Yeah, and at that time it was school taxes were taken off from income then too, in Newfoundland at least. I don't know how it is now, but I was seeing all these taxes, and I'm going to find out about this, and I didn't like what I saw, and I found it fundamentally unjust, and I think that started the ball rolling.
Yeah, same with Stephen Crowder as well. He worked, he was the voice of the brain on Arthur when he was a kid, and he got his first paycheck because he was living in Canada at the time, and he's like, where did all my money go? And his dad sat him down and explained it, and then that was what set him on the path to be interested in politics, because who took my money and by what right?
Right, exactly. It's a fundamental injustice
Exactly.
that you have to find out about and then influence, because you, like your father said in a pamphlet once, you may not be interested in politics, but politics is interested in you. You know, so a lot of people just live their daily lives, and I can understand not getting involved in politics whatsoever, because it is a messy, nasty business.
And it affects our social lives as well. On like Facebook, if you say the wrong thing, I have a bunch of friends online that I actually do care about. I've known them for quite a while, but we politically diametrically opposed. If I say one thing, they jump down my throat. So I don't say anything, because I don't want to disrupt that relationship, because I like them otherwise. And I think that's a big, I hate to say polarization, but there is quite the polarization. And I find myself censoring myself to maintain those relationships, which I don't know if that's actually healthy, or if calling it out is the more healthy way to go. Because you clear the room with it, right? Like, okay, well, I believe this, you believe that, let's just get it settled and leave it at that. But that's not how the other side goes.
We're a rare breed, a different breed, I think, because, well, again, your father started the Freedom Party of Ontario, and I was politically active just slightly before that. I joined the Libertarian Party, and the leader, Kay Sargent, gave me a phone call and said, "Do you want to be a candidate?" And I'm going, "Wow." My first response was, "Well, I don't really know the issues." Right? And I declined. And then a doctor friend of mine who was working in the same lab said, we were talking politics, and he said, "Well, you sound like you should join the Freedom Party." And I go, "What's the Freedom Party?" And I looked him up, and I went down there, walked in, joined right away, talked to your father, talked to Mark Emery, who was there at the time, and got politically involved, you know, as a member of the Freedom Party, stuffing envelopes. You know, I didn't do too much door knocking, but I put out some pamphlets and stuff like that, helped put together the newsletter, created with Bob the newsletter Consent, and got so politically involved. And it was great because I was among people who could talk about ideas, right? And we got it. We all got it. We understood, right? So there was no arguing necessarily over
Well, maybe
how
we're
many
the finer points, but
the finer points of how many angels could fit on the head of a pin type of argument, you know. But it's 412. No, it's 411. Who's holding up the pin?
you're splitting angel hairs.
Anyway, I've got a list of things that people should consider doing, because, like I said before, unless you get involved at a different level other than voting, the world is passing you by, and the world is going to control you, and you're not going to be you're not going to have as much control over the process that you are entitled to if you want to do it. And one of them, of course, is joining a party, as we've done. Just simply being active on social media. I remember I wrote letters to the editor, which were published. You know, I'm a 20-year-old something or other, and writing letters to the editor because I felt passionate about something. Now that we have social media, of course, we're active with social media, trying to get our particular point of view out there, to have people support a political party or adopt a political position. I've written to my representative, my members of parliament and provincial parliament. I've called my councillors. I stood for election. I ran for trustee, Board of Education trustee 3 times, won twice. I ran for city councillor. I ran for the Canadian Alliance federally. So I've done that. And when you join a political party, you can get involved in the executive. You can attend the rallies where they decide policy. You can attend the rallies where they decide who the leader is. Very important. Like, if you don't like Andrew Scheer of the Conservatives, well, if you're a Conservative, why didn't you show up to vote? At least vote for the representative who would vote.
Or toss your own name in the ring.
Or toss your own name in the ring, yeah. Take part in the policy process. Like, there's the executive get-together, like the Freedom Party executive, we talk about platform and policy all the time. Actually, policy because the platform is decided by the leader, who we get to vote for, you know, or not against, you know. Or do what your father did, and if you don't like all of the above and start your own party, as he did, quite successfully. So before you put your ballot in the box, there are so many things that you could do to actually influence whose names are on that ballot. And people don't realize that it's an easy thing to do, although it takes a bit of a commitment, but do it.
And you also have to realize that a lot of politics is decided behind closed doors. And that if you're not vigilant, it'll pass you by, and then you're just like, how did we end up here? Yep. I know for a fact, I live on a very busy street. The City of London approached me to say that, hey, we're going to take your whole front lawn and put 5 lanes of traffic in front of your house. I went, I don't like that idea. So we had all these meetings. I met with all the city councillors. I met with everybody. And it was just, yeah, we're just listening to you because it's our civic duty to do so. This is already decided. It's already done. There's no, you're not going to, once it gets to public knowledge, it's already decided. And you are now beside the point. And it's just a show. The public meetings, the public consultations, that's just to make nice with the people. So what you have to really do is, if you're really dedicated and paying attention to politics, you have to go behind the doors. You have to go to the city council meetings. You have to go to provincial meeting, whatever you can do. Watch C-SPAN and the rest of that stuff. That's the only way you're going to find out what's moving through the pipe, because it's going to hit you before you realize it, unfortunately. Yes. And now I have 5 lanes of traffic in front of my house.
Yeah, I remember that. What did you call your committee at that time?
Lane, London and Area Association, something.
One of the first things I got involved with was to defeat successfully a union drive at the University of Western Ontario. And we called ourselves, and it was just me and another lab tech, we called ourselves the UWO Staff for a Cooperative Work Environment. It didn't really scan, but there you go. That's what we call ourselves. We made pamphlets with the help of your father in the Freedom Party. Yeah. Went out, delivered them all, attended the meetings for the union, and defeated the union. And after I retired, unfortunately, then they voted in the union, but I was gone. But there's one other thing that people can do that is very important, and you see the importance of it in the American elections especially, because down there, undoubtedly, there is a lot of voter fraud going on. And I'm talking millions of votes that are just absolutely fraudulent. Either fraudulently made because they did it 2, 3, 4, 10 times, or be fraudulently counted. And what they should do, and this a lot of retirees do this, is become a scrutineer. And you just go to the electoral office prior to an election, and they train you to sit behind the booth. When people come in, they cross off your name, they hand you the ballot, right? You put it in the box, or they put it in the box. But here's where it comes the important part. If it's not electronically done, and it's still not electronically done here, I don't think, you take the ballot and you say, okay, this vote is for so-and-so, right? And you're verifying what somebody else is saying, that this is a vote for the Liberal Party. Yes, this is a vote for the Liberal Party. Okay. You become a scrutineer. It really helps eliminate a lot of the voter fraud that's going on out there by scrutineers. So if you're an honest person and with a bit of integrity, become a scrutineer, and let's stop this nonsense that goes on with the voter fraud.
Yeah, voter fraud's a scary thing because it is so easy to do. Dead people are voting, you have illegals voting, and well, the worst part is they're making it legal for illegals to vote.
Well, that's in the States, I think. Well, that's actually here too, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we're getting there. And is Trudeau not made that a policy plank at some point? Wouldn't surprise me.
I wouldn't be surprised either. But of course, I think provincially, yeah, you have to be a Canadian citizen to vote provincially. I'm not sure about municipally, though. But I don't even know that it should be that you should be a Canadian citizen to vote municipally, because I think you should be a ratepayer or a taxpayer.
Well, you have to be exactly. You have to be a taxpayer, and municipally you have to be somebody paying property taxes, because it's, what did Bill Whittle say? Oh, I voted for higher taxes because I wasn't paying any. And that's, you can vote for higher taxes in the city because you're not paying any if you don't own property.
Well, it used to be quite a while ago now that you had to own property to vote in Canada.
That would make sense.
Well, yes and no. At
Well,
that
no,
time,
for,
it made
on
sense.
a municipal level, I mean, like for like infrastructure projects and stuff like that, because that's where your tax dollars are going specifically. So
Yeah.
if somebody, but no, provincially and federally, you're dealing with social laws and criminal laws that have nothing to do with property per se.
Yes. Yeah. So,
And so yes, I agree on that level.
so there's so many things that people should do, and I mean that should, because
And also
if
call
they're-
into
if
talk
all they're doing is
radio.
voting, then don't talk to me about your involvement politically. Oh, the person I wanted didn't get in. Well, you only had a choice between Tweedledum and Tweedledee anyway, and whose fault is that, right?
Well, talk radio, I still think is somewhat valid. Call into there and push the issues that are important to you, because you can frame the narrative. That's what creates the narrative, is the from the grassroots. Twitter, social media, do all that stuff, post the things, and get your voice out there. Get a podcast. I wonder who did that. Wait, we did. That kind of stuff. And it's very important, because you'll be surprised at the influence you have, even if you don't realize it immediately. Because
Yes.
a term that you use, you'll suddenly see it suddenly spread everywhere. You'll see other people picking up talking points that you've brought into the forefront. And don't think that just because you're an individual that your voice doesn't count. That's the only way it starts. How collectives cannot speak unless the individual starts.
You remind me of one thing that I was impressed by, and that is that when I was going out with the Freedom Party people, and we would attend committee meetings, provincial committee meetings, when they would do the circuit and say we'd like public input on something, we would make our presentation from the Freedom Party of Ontario. And even though we knew that it was a fait accompli, everything was already decided, because we made our presentation, we prevent them from saying that they had unanimity to go this way, or that we had no objections to do this. Yes, you did, and we can prove it, right?
Yes,
So that
exactly.
was another valid thing to do.
Yeah, be the dissenting voice.
Yes, and also it attracted other people to us, because we would, for example, be on the television doing these things, and then people would call up saying, "Hey, I didn't realize you existed. How do I join?" That kind of stuff. So it snowballs, and so there's lots of stuff people can do, and actually sometimes it can be quite exciting and a lot of fun.
Oh, it is. And as Robert Heinlein, I'm going to paraphrase here, politics is only slightly less important than breathing.
And as you say, on that note, take care, behave yourself, and we'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
If you've enjoyed this presentation, visit justrightmedia.org for more programming that's not right-wing, it's just right.